welcome to In Case You Missed It. The first week of the Madlanga Commission has officially wrapped up, and leading the way on the witness stand was none other than General Mkhwanazi himself. Of course, this is just the beginning. More witnesses will be called in the coming weeks, both those backing Mkhwanazi's claims and those on the other side who stand accused or oppose his version of events. And I must say, if General Mkhwanazi's revelations are anything to go by, then SAPS is not just facing challenges, it's deeply compromised and frankly in shambles. What he laid out paints a worrying picture of internal politics, power struggles, and a system that seems to be working against itself really. So in today's video, I'll be breaking down and summarizing General Mkhwanazi's testimony. Let's get into it. Now, let's start with why one of South Africa's most high-ranking officials is airing out SAPS dirty laundry in the first place. Well, according to General Mkhwanazi, the police service has been infiltrated by criminals who do not only influence but outright control and bankroll some of SAP's highest-ranking officials. He also expressed his deep frustration with constant political interference, which, in his view, has crippled investigations and protected the very people meant to be exposed. Mkhwanazi revealed that he had tried to raise these issues through official channels at SAPS, but those efforts went nowhere, and that was largely because some of the very individuals he turned to for help were themselves entangled with criminal syndicates. Faced with a system that refused to clean itself, Mkhwanazi says he was left with no choice but to go public. In his words, he says he owed it to South Africans, the very people he swore to serve and protect, to speak out and expose the rot. Before diving into his testimony, General Mkhwanazi was first asked about his level of education and his working history within SAPS. Now, I saw that a lot of people online were irritated by this line of questioning, with many feeling it came across as patronizing. But personally, I think it was important to establish credibility and experience in a case like this, especially when the person testifying is making such huge claims. And as it turns out, General Mkhwanazi is both highly educated and extensively trained. He holds a national diploma and a BTech degree in policing, along with a national diploma in police administration. So over the years, he has also completed a wide range of specialized training such as supervisor's role in counterterrorism investigations and crisis response team training in the United States, also bomb disposal and various operational command courses within SAPS. On top of the academics, his career within the police service has spanned decades, where he has risen through the ranks to take on senior leadership roles, including acting National Commissioner of Police at one stage. Now, this background obviously shows that his testimony doesn't come from speculation. It comes from someone with the education, the training, and the lived experience inside SAP's high structures. And this is corroborated by how confident and how composed he was during his entire testimony. Now, with that credibility firmly established, let's break down General Mkhwanazi's claims. According to him, SAPS is essentially split into two camps. To simplify things, let's call them Camp 1 on the right and Camp 2 on the left. The saga began with General Khumalo and his team in Gauteng. This team was handling high-profile cases, including the Armand Swarts murder case. Khumalo noticed disturbing patterns. Some investigators were deliberately omitting critical findings, attending discreet meetings with senior officials, and even accepting bribes to turn a blind eye. Some were instructed not to oppose bail, and as a result, Buletau, a former detective and suspect in the Swarts case, was released on only 10,000 rand bail, and was placed under house arrest. On top of all of this, Khumalo's team was reduced from 5 investigators to only 2, and those 2 were subjected to intimidation and death threats. At this point, General Khumalo decided to reach out directly to General Mkhwanazi for help, deliberately bypassing those in Camp 2 whom he did not trust. Mkhwanazi responded by sending the KZN Political Killings Task Team to go and assist, and their presence provided protection for Khumalo and his 2 remaining investigators. And according to General Mkhwanazi, these 2 investigators are central and key to unraveling the syndicate, which is why their identities remain hidden for safety reasons. Now, with the KZN task team involved, real progress followed, and on the 9th of December 2024, they arrested Katiso Molefe, and he was named as the mastermind behind the Armand Swarts murder. And like Bullet Tau before him, Katiso was also granted 10,000 rand bail in the Armand Swarts case. Now, for a little context, there's an engineering company in Vereeniging that flagged corruption at Transnet, reporting that a company called SK Group was allegedly selling springs worth only 3.20 rand at inflated prices of 152 rands each. This then costed Transnet 1.2 million instead of 25,000 rands. This corruption allegedly led back to this company called SK Group, which allegedly belongs to Katiso Molefe. And his nephew, Lucky Molefe, worked at Transnet's supply chain. Tragically, Armand Swarts was murdered at work one morning, mistaken for the whistleblower who had reported the corruption. Since Katiso's arrest, his nephew, Lucky Molefe, has been on the run and has not been apprehended by the police as yet. But the case didn't end there. In November 2024, a man called Jerry Bushokha done a video on him. There's also another video on Cutting Edge with regards to his case. Jerry Bushokha is a friend and business partner of Vusi Matlala, and he went missing and ransom demands were made to his family. And on the 13th of December, the task team went to Vusi Matlala, questioned him, and also raided his house. While they didn't find any incriminating evidence against Jerry Bushokha, they found evidence that linked Vusi directly to the attempted murder of Tebogo and her friend. Now here's where the web of violence ties together. The same hitmen, Tebogo Mabusela and Musa Kekana, were behind both the Armand Swarts murder and the attempted hit on Tebogo. And interestingly enough, if you look at the outcomes of both, it seems the hits were botched. I mean, Tebogo and Musa Kekana must be the worst hitmen to have ever lived. Not only did they fail to kill an unarmed slay queen, they also killed the wrong man, Armand, in the other case. Anyways, it's clear that Katiso Molefe and Vusi Matlala were using the same contract killers to eliminate their enemies. Even more chilling, the weapons recovered in these investigations have been linked to 18 cases, including the murders of DJs in Gauteng between 2022 and 2023. I've also covered these cases in my previous videos. Do go and check that out. And the DJ killings is rumored to be drug-related revenge hits. Adding another layer to the story, Vusi Matlala owns a security company called Cat VIP, and one wonders if this company was used as a front to gain access to weapons and sensitive information that ordinary citizens like myself and you wouldn't have access to. And this is important. You will note that the previous investigative team that Khumalo was working with failed to make these links between these cold cases, which strongly corroborates Khumalo's claims that evidence was being deliberately hidden and key connections were being buried by the previous investigators. Now, Katiso is currently being charged with murder of the DJs as well, on top of the Armand Swarts murder case. But it's worth noting he has a history of drug trafficking. He even served time in the UK in 2013, and while drugs are not part of his charges, his past makes the connections to these cases more significant, especially the DJ killings. Now, the raid at Vusi's house ultimately led to his arrest in May this year, again thanks to the task team and Khumalo's 2 investigators. Adding to the scandal, ENCA investigative journalists flagged Matlala's 360 million appointment at SAPS. This appointment was eventually cancelled by Fani Masemula, but not before Kat was reportedly paid at least 50 million rands. Katiso Molefe, on the other hand, was rearrested and denied bail for the DJ killings case, reflecting the seriousness of the linked crimes and the strength of evidence against him. On another note, Angwani Maumela, who was once listed as a director of CAT VIP with Vusi Matlala, was also implicated in the Tembisa Hospital corruption case. Do check out my previous video. I've also covered Angwani Maumela and how his businesses are related to Kat Matlala. And while Angwani hasn't come up in the Madlanga commission, it's important to note that last week his assets worth over 300 million were seized in relation to the Tembisa Hospital case. Interestingly, most news outlets have been largely quiet on the seizure of Angwani Maumela's assets. Now, all of these arrests did not go without retaliation from Camp 2. General Mkhwanazi claims that after the task team began working in Johannesburg, he started receiving intimidating messages from Brown Mkhwanazi. Brown is a friend of Vusi Matlala, as shown by texts found on Vusi's phone. Also, Brown has been doing interviews all over claiming to know Senzo and Vusi Matlala, and appears to act as a middleman between Senzo Mkhunu and Vusi Matlala. Brown also has a relationship through the ANC with Senzo, giving him inside knowledge of developments before other officials are informed, suggesting a very close relationship with Mkhunu. I've done a video on Brown Mkhwanazi and his relationships with Vusi and Senzo Mkhunu, so I'm not going to delve deep into that. You can go and watch that video. Notably, Senzo Mkhunu wrote a letter on the 31st of December 2024 to disband the task team, just days after Katiso Molefe's arrest on the 9th of December and the raid on Vusi Matlala's home on the 13th of December. Now, this paints a picture of Senzo attempting to protect either one or both of these men, because for one to write a letter on New Year's Eve, it surely must have been a pressing matter to disband this team. Meanwhile, Sibiya wrote letters demanding the task team to hand over the cases and dockets in an effort to stop these investigations into these 2 men. And as a result, both Sibiya and Senzo now have been suspended pending investigation. Charges were then placed against General Khumalo for appointing a Miss Mokwele, who allegedly has no experience or qualifications for a senior position at SAPS. Other charges were placed on General Khumalo by Fidel Adams, who, according to some online sources, is allegedly a former drug addict and has no business meddling in SAPS operations, as he does not work at SAPS. General Mkhwanazi himself is facing charges of defeating the ends of justice, while Fani Masemula is facing corruption charges. One has to wonder, Why such strong opposition against the task team and the people who are in support of the task team, such as General Khumalo, General Mkhwanazi, and Fani Masemola? Now, it does appear that the task team is doing its job and is arresting key criminal kingpins. So why would one have a problem with this task team, unless, of course, some of these powerful people are implicated themselves? And that wraps up week 1 of the Madlanga Commission. Subscribe, like, comment, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on all developments in the Madlanga Commission.